The Golden State Warriors, a lot of people are saying they've got problems because Kevin Durant possibly will not play in Game 6. But the guy who was there last night, who saw it, who was there in the Oracle Arena, is the Athletics' Tim Kawakami, and he joins the Rich Eisen show. Kirk Morrison filling in for Rich. So, Tim, before I even get there, I just want to start with when Kevin Durant goes down with that injury last night, just give me the mood of the Oracle, one of the loudest arenas in all of the NBA. Just give me the mood when Kevin Durant walks to the locker room.
Well, remember, they had a 20-point lead in the first half that they had kicked away at the end of the first half and then going into the third quarter. So there was already uneasiness. There was already, the Warriors are not playing well. They've given up playoff leads before, playoff record 31-point lead they blew to the Clippers early in that series. So there was definite uneasiness. There was, the players, you could tell they felt it. You could tell the crowd felt it. There was definitely, a weird mood. And then when Durant makes that jumper, to only put them up 3, we're up 20. He puts them up 3, and then looked like a non-contact injury, limping. In everybody's heads, it was Achilles tear. It could be Achilles tear. The players admitted it, and Steve Kerr admitted it. I would say I didn't think so, just because you normally can't even put any weight on it, and he was limping out. I didn't know, but you could tell he was going to be out for a while, right? You could tell he wasn't going to be back in that game, and maybe not for the rest of the series. We'll see. And if they lose this game, it might all be over. I think that it was hitting everybody, the enormity of that game, that series, that postseason, and the Kevin Durant era, maybe the entire Warriors dynasty. That was all in everybody's heads. What does it mean for free agency? What does it mean for the continuation of this run? That was in there. It's still in the air, all right? I mean, clearly, he's not playing Game 6, by the way. He's not playing Game 6. So if they had lost yesterday, they would be going to Houston down 3-2 without Kevin Durant, playing all their guys 45 minutes, their main guys 45 minutes in this game. It would be very close to being over. And even if you managed to win that one, you have to win Game 7, probably without Kevin Durant. That was, I think, a kind of a galvanizing moment for the team without him. I mean, obviously they're not better when he's hurt, but this team has rallied before. This team has been in a lot of interesting moments. It was down 3-1 to Oklahoma City in Western Conference Finals, playing against Kevin Durant, and rallied to win that back. You got a feeling of that rallying moment of the Warriors being back to who they were before Durant. And I don't know how long they can sustain it, but you just felt all that kind of surge through them in about a 15-minute period. And then we heard that Durant wasn't a torn Achilles. The Warriors announced that it was a calf strain. We will hear about the full extent of it probably later today. But the players didn't know. Right. So they're playing just because they got to win this game, and then they'll find out about Durant. It was a lot to go through for an arena, for the players, for team management, and for the viewer, I'm sure, too. All in about an hour, 90 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. And they pulled it out. They pulled this one out. We'll see what happens in the next 2.
One of the great follows on Twitter, at Tim Kawakami. He's the editor-in-chief for The Athletic SF, joining the Rich Eisen show. Kirk Morrison here filling in for Rich. But, Tim, you got a chance to catch up with Steve Kerr late last night. You had a couple tweets just kind of talking about how Steve Kerr is going to have to kind of go about now being without Kevin Durant. He's basically saying he's doubtful for Game 6. We still don't know about Game 7. But from your interactions with Steve Kerr, how do the Warriors, I guess, feel about this Kevin Durant injury? Is it something that they can say he's possibly coming back, or they're still awaiting the MRI?
Yeah, they're waiting the MRI, but no, Kevin Durant's not playing Game 6. Steve kind of was meandering around that, saying, he's likely not playing Game 6, and he just flat out said, listen, we don't need to be tricky here. He's not playing Game 6. I think it's extremely likely he doesn't even get on the plane. You know that. You've got an injury like that. Why even put him on the plane to get him out there and then have to put him right back on the plane to fly back when he could just be getting treatment and be ready for either a Game 7 on Sunday or a Game 1 on Sunday or Tuesday. He's not playing Game 6. I think it's very unlikely that he'll play Game 7 if there's a Game 7 or if there's a Game 1 on Sunday. You just don't bounce back from a quad injury like that. Going to throw him out there and go play 40 minutes again? That's just not happening. So they've got to come up with some minutes. They've got a lot of minutes. That's 45 incredibly important minutes there that Kevin Durant was giving them that they're going to have to find. And they got an incredible fourth quarter out of Kevon Looney yesterday. Incredibly necessary. Now they're going to get that for the rest of the series. I don't think that level. They'll have to increase his minutes some, but then they're going to have to put some guys who have not been in the rotation to play some minutes, and it'll be on the road with Houston back against the walls. It's going to be tough. But I think Jonas Repko, who played he was the first sub in for Durant, or he was the first kind of extra guy in when they needed somebody, hit a three, but then didn't look good after that. But he will have to get some minutes, I think. Andrew Bogut maybe back in there. Yeah. Maybe match him with Capella, because he's been taken out of the series just because of the switching and you can't get him out on the three-point line. But if Capella's in there, maybe Bogut can play some minutes. They're going to need more than that. It's going to be, they've been losing players. Obviously lost to Marcus Cousins in the first round. They lose Durant now. They're not a deep team anyway. They're praying that Sean Livingston can give them important minutes. He was not bad last night. He's been bad in other nights. This is a battle of attrition, like it was last year. Yeah. The Warriors lose Andre Iguodala in Game 3 for the rest of the series. The Rockets lose Chris Paul in Game 5 for the rest of the series. This is what happens when good teams are going hard at each other. Neither one of them is very deep. They're just going to have to find something. And I can see Kerr maybe not pushing his main guys real hard tomorrow, because what you don't want is to have Steph Curry play 46 minutes, Clay 46, Draymond 47, and lose, and then they're beat to hell, and you still got to come back and fly and play Game 7 on Sunday. Maybe you try out some new guys on tomorrow, play your main guys 40-42, and then if you don't win, at least they're not exhausted going into Game 7, and maybe you make the Rockets play Harden for another 45 and PJ Tucker another 45 and Chris Paul 42, and maybe you win the battle over the long haul. This is a huge epic moment for both franchises, and how they play it tomorrow is going to be very interesting to watch.
The editor-in-chief for The Athletic SF, Tim Kawakami, joining the Rich Eisen show. Kirk Morrison here filling in for Rich. But you mentioned it. It was the return of the Splash Brothers, right, in that fourth quarter. Usually I know Steph usually sits in the going into a fourth quarter. But yet this time, obviously, Steve Kerr had to play him. And I thought Clay, and you mentioned Kevon Looney, who I thought was the MVP of last night's game. They were fantastic. But like to your point, is there a minutes possible restriction in Game 6, knowing you still have Game 7 in your building, you think, with Steve Kerr and the Warriors?
Yeah, again, it's got to be logic. If they're up 2 in the fourth quarter, maybe you gun for it and you try to get that, avoid that Game 7.
Right.
I think Kerr will play it. I don't think he's going to play it like he did last night. That game was mandatory. You couldn't lose at home, in a tie game going into the fourth, which it was. Durant just hobbles off. You had to win that game. So he had to press every button, and Curry started the fourth, which he normally doesn't. He and Clay played the entire fourth quarter, which Kerr almost always tries to avoid. Maybe with Durant, he will do that once or twice. But again, it's the minute count that probably contributed to that injury for him. So you've got to play it somewhat logically, and I would say, they're not going 44-45 with Curry and Clay. If they're behind, they're going the fourth down 5, you don't push it. If you're close, who knows? Right. It's the moment that will dictate it. But yeah, they're going to play the way they played in the fourth quarter, which is back to 2015, 2016, which is the Curry pick and roll at the top and let him go, and he's aggressive. And, he didn't make every shot in the fourth quarter, but he looked much more in rhythm. He looked much more, this is the ball in his hands, and let me decide. And, again, they are better with Kevin Durant out there. They are a great team, Kevin Durant out there, but this is kind of muscle memory for them. And it's that joyful basketball. It could blow up, in Game 6. It could be terrible. It could be great. But it wasn't like they went, oh, wait a minute, how do we play again without Kevin Durant? No, they knew. It's Steph Curry with the ball in his hands, creating and finishing and shoot and, pick and roll and trying to beat the big guy on the switch and firing from 35. They will keep doing this, and we will see. Again, the reason why they got Kevin Durant is because they're better with Kevin Durant. Yeah. But it was fascinating to watch them kind of pull that out against an old rival, and it explode through Oracle Arena. You know what? Houston's tired too.
Right.
Harden looked like it was dragging there in the fourth quarter. I understand it. He's carrying an incredible load. He's having to play defense in this series, Kirk, by the way, and he is playing defense.
Right.
That wears you down. So, it isn't just the Warriors who've got a minute's worry. You're looking at P.J. Tucker, who's barely coming out of the game. James Harden barely coming out of the game. This is good. There are going to be some really exhausted superstars tomorrow, and if Houston wins on Sunday. I don't know what they're all going to be like for the next series, but I mean they are near an empty tank for this series. But that's what the playoffs are about. You don't want it to be easy. You want to see these guys challenged, and they are challenging each other, no question.
We got about 30 more seconds left here with Tim Kawakami, the editor-in-chief of The Athletic SF. And look, these were my thoughts last night, Tim, and kind of just let me know what you think. I feel like the Warriors are in a lose-lose situation, okay? Is that if they lose the next two games, it's because they didn't have Kevin Durant. And we know his situation in the summer, possibly being able to leave in free agency. If they win Game 6 or Game 7, they win without Kevin Durant. And it's like, oh, we can still win without him, even if he goes in free agency. So to me, it's like a lose-lose situation for whatever the outcome may be with Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I think Kevin Durant's leaving anyway. So, and I think most in the locker room think that too. I'm not saying it's a done deal. Who knows? He could make any kind of decision, but you can't have that be a factor in whether you want to win a game or not. You win it however you can. And that's what they've kind of tried to do this season. They're removing the Durant situation as much as they can from what they're just going to go win. And I've called it a grand compromise. They're not going to be mad at Kevin if he leaves. They've told him this. Play your best basketball, which he clearly has done in the playoffs, and they see what comes at the end of it. Nobody's mad at each other. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's the compromise. So you can't be part of it doesn't matter because Kevin might leave, so what? No, you got to play it the way you play it. And he makes his decision independent of all that. You try to win the championship. You don't gain anything by not winning the championship and then having everybody feel slightly better about it, possibly. Who cares? You win a championship, you deal with everything after that. There is no other reason to do anything else. And because Kevin Durant is making up his mind based on 1,000 things, you got to win a championship and see what comes after that, if they can.
Appreciate the time as always, Tim. Have a good one.
All right, Kirk, anytime. See you.
Yeah, that was Tim Kawakami, the editor-in-chief of The Athletic.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download The Rich Eisen Show app.